Going to bring you this stack of records. So the reason I'm bringing you this stack of records, one of the things that I got an office that's somewhat removed from the house. So my kids come out and they're like, "All right, Dad, time to go end your day for work," or they'll just come visit me throughout the day. And one of the little thoughts that I had in my head as we were, planning on moving was it'd be cool if they'd come in and pick out a record and I'd play that, later on for myself. And tell them all about it later. Well, obviously, they're 3 years old, they don't care about it. But I ended up having a backup turntable after I upgraded and moved it in the house. So one up, they actually pick records, and then we listen to a little bit of them together a little bit later on before they go in the tub. So they kind of enjoy the process of it. They certainly don't sit there and listen to the music in its entirety, but I generally get to listen to half of each record at least while they kind of do their thing after dinner. They like to wrestle on the bed. They like to make these little obstacle courses where they just put like stairs and steps and climb over them. So they're very active boys. They keep me very busy. But anyway, they pick out some metal records. Generally, they're pretty good about it. I have to kind of steer them to the queue. Believe it or not, out of like the 600 or so records I've got, they pick duplicates twice because they just walk to what's right in front of them and pull it out. So it is totally random, but sometimes I just got to say, hey, maybe try one of these cubes over here. What's funny is, they pick out and then they ask about it, and every once in a while they'll pick out just an instrumental band, like they picked out "If These Trees Could Talk" yesterday. And I told him, I said, now there's no vocals on this. And he said, I want to put that one back. It's boring, which is funny. But they actually, for some reason, really enjoy the harsh vocals when they kick in. They seem to get a huge kick out of it. They sometimes start dancing, but usually, honestly, they start laughing. So anyway, that's a little bit of a preamble. But the first record, and this was one of last night's picks, is Black Table Obelisk. So this is we'll call them like a post-black metal band, is probably the best, the best genre tag I could put on, but they've got a little bit of everything in there. They've got some sludge, they've got, of course, post-black metal, they've got black metal in there. A little bit of doom. It really just kind of hops all over the place, but it does it really well. It's a great sounding pressing, by the way. Is it Moment of Collapse Records? I should probably make sure that I point that out. No, it looks like it was actually, yes, it was. It was released on Moment of Collapse in Silent Pendulum, which I think might actually be one of the band members' labels, Silent Pendulum. I'm not sure. It's actually a really, really nice looking record too. I know you folks like some colored vinyl, as do I. So that one comes highly recommended. The vocalist, she's got all over the place. She's got like the deep, guttery, almost like moist sounding growls where it sounds like there's probably some shit flying out. But then also like the high shrieks, and the pacing of the music kind of goes all over the place. So really interesting listen. I certainly think it's worth checking out. The second, and this one was also from last night. They'll probably actually go in order now that I think about the way that I stacked them. I was really kind of impressed at first. Anyway, this is a hardcore band from Connecticut, Boundaries. The name of this album is My Body in Bloom. This is one of the best hardcore records I've gotten in a long time. And this one's on Unbeaten Records. So you got, this is kind of like new age hardcore. There's a little bit of I'd call it metallic hardcore, kind of like it used to be, not really metalcore. Great breakdowns, emotional lyrics, fairly lengthy song structures for hardcore. I don't know if I said they're out of Connecticut, but I had a resurgence in hardcore, which is something I hadn't really listened to straight up hardcore very much for quite a number of years after getting my start that way 25 years ago. And then friends like, dude, how come you haven't checked out Knock Loose? And I checked out Knock Loose, and I'm like, yeah, why haven't I checked out Knock Loose? This shit was awesome. So it kind of got me back on the kick of hardcore. So right after finding Knock Loose, I went back and kind of found some other modern bands that I'd maybe slept on. So this is one of them that I'd heard, and then Judiciary was another. And I've got a few others that I've thrown in there for good measures. But it's been a pretty good couple of years for rediscovering hardcore for me. This one we only got to play one song, and I picked it. They pulled this one, and actually this is one that they pulled twice. This might have been one of the first records they pulled, but every once in a while I'm not going to make a big deal about it when it's a record like this. This is just a good old-fashioned black copy of Sleet's legendary record, The Sciences. Everybody loves Dope Smoker, as do I, but if I had to pick, I would take The Sciences in a heartbeat. My favorite song of theirs, period, Antarctic and Thaw, is on there. I just like the variation of it. I like that, I know that there's enough of that in Dope Smoker where they go through and break it up into into different segments. But these each have completely unique song structure, so it's more of a traditional album. Which I gravitate to more. I'll sit there and listen to Dope Smoker anytime I've got a minute and five of spare time left. But this is usually my go-to because I just like all of the songs on it. And really, this was a gift from my wife for Christmas last Christmas, and I had really just discovered Doom last summer, so I've been trying to get as many of those records as I can to really see what fits me, and this was one of them that she got me that I'm just absolutely in love with. This is another duplicate. they absolutely love picking things that are right in front of them. I think it's just a plain old black one. I'm one of those people. No, it's not. I'm a little bit blind. I took my glasses off so there's no glare, but I can't see for shit. Anyway, this one looks like some type of a beer colored, maybe black splatter. But this is good old fashioned Crowbar, Symmetry in Black on E1 Records. This is one that they've picked twice. This was actually, I believe, the first record that one of my kids picked. They're both 3 years old. One of them just liked picking the record. The other one didn't care. He just liked coming into the office. So for a little while, I had one a day. Trying to juggle two a day, both in terms of children, but in terms of, trying to fit records on and keep them, organized. Because they do generally want to hear what they pick, but usually just for a minute. But anyway, this is a great Crowbar record. So Symmetry in Black has some of the sickest riffs ever. I was never a huge Crowbar fan, but I saw this one on a store shelf. I think I had heard the song was a Symmetry in White, ironically. And I was like, holy shit, that's just got such a groove. And it's actually hit me more as I've gotten into some of the stoner doom and sludge. Really the stoner doom, not so much here, but there's a lot of overlap with the riffing in the sludge metal like this. So there are just some banging tracks on there, and I'm actually really curious. Like I said, I don't go back and check out Crowbar stuff too much. But I'd obviously like to check out the Kurt Weinstein's solo project and see what he does with that, because obviously he's vocals and a hell of a lot of the riffs here. So I would love to see what he does if he gets control over the whole operation, right? I think that'd be something. I got a digital streaming thing. There's not like anything holding me back from checking it out. Maybe time. Anyway, up next, one of my top 10 records of all time, Darkest Hours, Undoing Ruin. Nice yellow copy. This on, of course, Victory Records. We'll leave those conversations aside. But this one here, from 2005, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2005. And I have spun this thing regularly in all formats. When I say spun, I'm generally not talking about records. I've only been into records for the last 5 or 6 years. But I've given this thing so many listens over the last 15 years. It's probably in my top 5, even though it's in my top 10 of personal picks. It used to be a gym go-to. I knew that, I got from song 1 right to the end of it, my workout was just about done. So it was kind of like a built-in timer. But anyway, they always get lumped in with metalcore and things like that. This is melodic death metal. This is at the Gates influence here. Probably, in my opinion, they got lumped in with a lot of the core stuff, mainly because they were on Victory Records, but also they kind of rose out of the same scene. Looking at some of the comps that I found yesterday from really early 90s, East Coast Empire stuff, they were on there with a lot of metal and hardcore bands. And if you listen to the song that was there, and I can't remember the track, but this was probably demo phase for them. It had some hardcore influence in it, but they turned into something completely different. But Chris Norris's guitar work on this one is absolutely phenomenal. There's not a weak track on it, and it's just some of the thrashiest, funnest songs that I've ever heard. There's powerful lyrics to it. It actually means something, and it's enjoyable to listen to. The tempo of it is right. It's just got a nice stomp to it. Really is one of my favorite records. I could talk about that in each of the songs in great detail, but I'm trying to keep this short. I'm gonna bring you 8 or 10 records and try to keep it to 10 or 15 minutes. Hopefully there's something in here that you haven't heard. This one I'd be surprised if you heard. There's really not much to show up here. This is Nomadic Rituals in Tome. This is a split from 2 bands from Belfast, Ireland. So this is from back, I had always off and on ran little record stores online. It was pretty good when it was CDs back in the I'd say the early 2000s, and I was getting like demos and things from small bands individually, and the internet wasn't what it was. So I used to have a lot of fun, and every once in a while I just kind of, maybe I'll pick it up again, and then, time stops me from doing it. But this was one of the albums that I had gotten a dozen copies of straight from the band, and slowly sold off over the course of like, maybe 3 or 4 years, which wasn't the plan. But anyway, this is some death doom. I mean, this is slow. I'll talk about the Nomadic Ritual side, because that's the band that I worked with to get these. Very slow, very heavy, very very, very harsh vocals. It's doom. I mean, it is death doom. I don't really know exactly where the distinguishing line between death doom and funeral doom is, but this is probably on that line. I think funeral doom sometimes has some keys. It is maybe even a little bit slower than this. But then you flip it over, and the side that I really like, the Tome song, Bone Divinations, is actually a freaking fantastic death doom song. Not quite as slow a pace as the other one, but man, there's a segment of this song that absolutely just slaps so hard. I've played it a couple of times back to back, where you flip it over, you get to the side B, which that song's on. You're like, before I put another record on the platter, I'm gonna go side B again. If you like some heavy death doom, and I will, I'll try to link to all of these in the YouTube description. So you can check them out. But if Death Doom is up your wheelhouse, I suggest checking out this Hidden Gem. It's not easy to find in the United States, but you can get the download on Bandcamp fairly affordably, if not like name your own price. So that's that one. That might be like the sleeper of the bunch if you like Death and Doom, because it's just out of nowhere. This one here was really exciting for me when this got picked. So I got some Belzebong, which also just, nothing sexy on the vinyl itself there. But we got Belzebong, Sonic Scapes, and Weedy Grooves. I didn't tell him that this was one of the instrumental bands, mainly because I didn't want him to know, and I didn't want him to put it back, because I had my favorite song on it by theirs, which is Witch Rider. I mean, if you like, this is stoner doom with no vocals. Bands like Bong Ripper generally get the nod as kind of the leaders in that genre, but these guys are my favorite. I got 3 of their records. I absolutely love their approach to it. They've got a little bit of sleep influence that pokes